Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is, what day is it today? I'm confused. It is Tuesday, and all of our guests today are sponsored by our regular Monday sponsor, Rick. See, I got it all figured out. Passant Motors.
Oh, yeah.
And those guests include Elliotte Friedman, standing by, ready to find your next vehicle. Visit Passant Motors today. To experience the difference for yourself, the friendly team looks forward to helping you drive home in the perfect vehicle for your needs and budget. Getting to your destination starts with us. Learn more at Passant Motors, BASANT Motors.com. We're now joined by, from Hockey Night in Canada and the 32 Thoughts podcast, Elliotte Friedman. Elliotte, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you? Looking good.
Hey, how are you guys doing? Yeah.
Brian Burke.
The Brian Burke tie, look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a big photo shoot today. So not surprisingly, after this is over, time for makeup and hair.
We should think about that too. Hey, are you, this is the obvious question, Elliotte, are you able to comment on this reported deal? I know you work for the company, between the new deal, between Rogers and the National Hockey League, 12 years, 7.7 billion American dollars.
Are you trying to get me fired before it's signed?
That would be a no.
You know what? I really can't say much aside from I think we're going to know a lot more soon.
Okay. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. No. There's a process. Obviously, it has to go through, and I'm not surprised it got out. But it is a process it has to go through, and I can't say anything until that process is completed.
Okay. We just got a text here from Rogers. You're okay to go to that photo shoot later. All right.
Thanks, Donnie. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Hey, on 32 Thoughts, you said you believe the Canucks have offered Rick Tocchet a new deal. Nothing got done. What does that say to you?
I just think it's to me that was like the first start of the negotiation.
Yeah.
It's like I always look at things. It's like I remember one of the first lessons I ever learned about negotiation, and we're all still learning how to negotiate in our lives, is never take the first offer, right? So I think like that was kind of an opening. Look, like Patrick Allvin has been very public. He's done some good stuff with Ian McIntyre about how they want Rick Tocchet back, and I think the Canucks do want him back. I think they see value in what he's done. I think the other thing too is I always look to see, guys, is, does a team play for its coach? And you look at everything the Canucks have gone through this year and the steep odds that they're facing, but they've played pretty hard in the last couple of weeks. Like you wouldn't look at the way the Canucks have played and said this is a team that's not playing or not responding to its head coach anymore. And so I think that the Canucks see that. I think the players see that. I think they'd like to have him back. Like I said, I think they've made him an offer. Obviously, nothing's done. But, we'll see where it goes here. I think this is simply, dollars and cents is certainly part of this conversation. I was kind of going back through my notes the last couple of years, and you take a look at the coaches that the Canucks have had. You take a look at the coaches the Canucks have had over the last little while. Like you look at Travis Green and you look at some of the other coaches, and financially they've all kind of been in a similar ballpark. I think in this one the Canucks might get pushed to see how much higher are they comfortable going, and I think that's going to be part of the conversation here. But I think it's also a conversation about, okay, as you guys know, and Rick, you have chronicled this stuff as well as anybody has this year. A lot of things have happened this season that the Canucks didn't think would ever be an issue again. Like they thought that, when they had the breakthrough last year, they went to a hard-fought 7-game second-round series against Edmonton, that the path was going that way. And, of course, that didn't happen this year. There were a lot of things that they had to deal with they didn't expect to deal with. And now there's a lot of questions. And I think part of this is going to be Tocchet and the Canucks sitting down, Rutherford, Allvin, ownership, and saying, okay, where do we think we are? Where do we think we're going? And how are we going to have to deal with some of the holes that we may have in the roster? Like everybody's talked about center, right? Yeah. Well, how are you going to deal with that? It's the hardest position to fill. And so I think there's going to be those conversations philosophically. Where does everybody feel they are? Where are they going? the financial and term questions. And, so I think all of that still has to be discussed. And, do they wait to the end of the season to do it? Do they, right now, you're still alive. The odds aren't great, but you're still alive. Do you wait until that's over before you have those conversations? And when do they have them? And, I think the other thing too, guys, is I think Quinn Hughes is going to have a vote in all of this. And I think Hughes and Tocchet are simpatico. And I'm sure the team is going to listen to what the player has to say.
There's some big decisions, Elliotte, when this season's over. You got Boeser. You got to decide what to do, because if he doesn't come back, how do you replace him? Pia Suter's on fire right now, Elliotte. He's got 8 points in 4 games as the number one center. He is looking at a pretty big salary on July 1st. What's your gut saying about this team when the season's over? Do you see big changes, or do you see them trying to just a little bit of tinkering? A lot of people are thinking big changes this summer for the Canucks if they don't make the playoffs.
It's possible, but the thing is, Rick, the other thing, I've been thinking about this a lot. I knew I was coming on today, and I actually figured I would do some homework for a change. What's available out there?
Yeah.
Look at all the chess pieces starting to come off the board, right? So if you take a look at it, I think right now, we'll see how it all works out with Demko. How does he feel at the end of the season, and where are you guys going with that next year? But defensively, I don't think you guys are too worried about that. You've got your pieces. Chikrin's off the board. I think Gavrikov's going to get off the board, but I don't think you guys are looking for a defenseman.
No.
Okay, so now let's just say center. Okay, well, who are the top centers? Sam Bennett. And until I'm convinced otherwise, I still think if I had to make a slight wager, it would be on he stays. Brock Nelson, I'm not so sure he's coming to Vancouver. And then John Tavares, I'm not so sure he's coming to Vancouver. So my question to you, Rick, is, where's your solution at center? The solution might be the guy you have there already. And, it's the one thing that's really interesting to me is I had a long talk with a bunch of GMs about Chikrin, and he just signed for 8 times 9. And I don't think at the beginning of the season, anyone would have seen that guy signing for 8 times 9.
Yep.
And I don't even think in the middle of the season, the Washington Capitals saw themselves signing him for 8 times 9. But then when the cap came out where it is, and they went to 8 times 9. And you know what that said to me, Rick? Mm-hmm. That says to me that teams are going to have to get comfortable with where this cap is, that maybe some numbers that you thought were too much this year, they're not that much anymore. That maybe our land, and look, like this new TV deal that I technically am not talking about, that's going to help. The world is a crazy place right now. There's all this tariff stuff. It's insane. Nobody knows where all this is going to go. But if that's the kind of revenues the NHL is going to be doing, the cap is going to go where everybody thinks it's going to go here, right? So, as you know, Suter, the Canucks didn't like what the numbers were at the deadline. Well, I look at what Washington just did with Chikrin. Is everybody here, including Vancouver, going to have to say, you know what, those numbers we didn't like a little bit ago, those might be the numbers now. And so that's why I'm very curious to see where this gets revisited with Suter. He's a 20-goal scorer. He's been really good for you. And the other thing is, you guys know him, right? Nobody knows him better than you know him. So I'm curious to see if that one gets revisited at all. Boeser, the thing with Boeser is there seems to be an idea of a number that Boeser thinks is available for him out there, or they think is available for him out there. Vancouver is just below that. I don't know. I always think it's easier to solve your problems internally than go out and try to find someone else, especially as more of these pieces are coming off the board. But the biggest thing a lot of GMs are telling me right now, Rick, is are the numbers different? And is Chikrin the proof that all the numbers are different than what we thought they were a few months ago?
Elliotte, we're all trying. St. Louis is the hottest team in the league. They're just forcing Vancouver and Calgary to just win every night or just forget about it. I'm pretty well
I'm pretty sure they're going to be Detroit tonight for their 10th straight win, Elliotte. What's going on with the Blues? How did they get so hot, and why are they so hot?
Well, I think the one thing is, I think Montgomery's a hell of a coach. But number two, if you look at a lot of their underlying numbers, Rick, they don't give up a lot, especially off the rush. Like, they have committed to defending the middle of the ice, and they're not giving up a whole lot there. I think, too, like, Binnington's gone into a new stratosphere since the Four Nations. But, like, Holloway's played great. Broberg's been a really good fit for them. Rob Thomas has been fantastic. Their best players have been excellent. Like, even without Parayko, who's been hurt, they still, as a team, defend very well. You're going to have nights where your offense doesn't work, but if you're willing to check and commit to defending the middle of the ice, you can win a lot of games, and that's what the Blues do. Like, Mike Kelly of Sport Logic, he did a really good thing where he showed, like, rush chances allowed. Like, they're way under the league average. They're the best team at the league at allowing rush chances right now. And if you commit to do that well, you're going to win a lot of games.
Elliotte, what's in John Tortorella's future?
That's a great question. This year I think was 25 years since he got hired the first time in Tampa. And I sent him a note when that happened. I just wished him congratulations, and he said he wasn't done. And that was a while ago. I think that was in January. And, the one thing is, I think this year there was a lot of talk about Tortorella going into front office this year at the end of the year in Philly. Like, I think Tortorella has a timeline. He goes in somewhere, he's got 2 or 3 years, and then it's time, right? And the time had happened in Philly. And, I think that what we're dealing with here is teams hire him when they're in a really bad place. And the only one that was the real miss was Vancouver. And the reason I remember saying at the time when he got hired by the Canucks guys, he should take the year off. He didn't see the firing in the Rangers coming, and it shocked him. And Vancouver that year, when they were going through their interviews, Ruff went to Dallas, Aikens went to Edmonton. All the guys that they want to hire, they went elsewhere. And all of a sudden, it was kind of like a forced marriage instead of a real marriage. It was just a bad fit. But if you look at everywhere he's gone, like Columbus, like Philly, they were on the edge of the playoffs last year. He takes bad situations and he builds them back up. And, I think there will be teams that discuss him, the possibility of him. The one thing I wonder about, though, Don, is I think it's got to be a veteran team. I'm not sure, and I don't want to sound like my grandfather, but I'm just not sure the young kids today can handle that anymore.
Elliotte, the show you're on. There's nothing wrong with sounding like your grandfather. It's our target audience, buddy. Yeah. Hey, have a great.
The scary thing would be if one of the two of you guys looked like my grandfather. That's what I would be worried
Very
about.
scary.
Well, I'm getting there. Elliotte, have a great photo shoot and great rest of the day. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
All right, guys. Speak to you during the playoffs or just before the playoffs. Take care.
Right. Thank you, sir.